Hello everybody, Matthew Armstrong here on day 11 of our 90-day transformation from mediocrity to mastery. And in the car with me, day 11, and you've done every hangout so far, you've been on every live training, or you've watched them, the replays or whatever, and you've purchased the book, The Values Factor, and you're going through it with me, and you're completing the exercises as we go, and you completed everything up until now. I would just like to, first of all, congratulate you, my friend, really and truly, because you're in the less than 1% that do. It really is less than 1% that will do this. You know, it's a known fact. When people buy a book, less than 10% actually get past the first chapter of that book. Less than 10% of people who buy a book get past the first chapter. And if it's a book like this where there's exercises in it, it's less than 10% of that 10% that will actually do the exercises. And if it's a book like this where the exercises are really, really challenging, where it pushes your brain and stretches your brain so far to really go deep inside of yourself, to some deep inner reflection and introspection and looking in the shadows of your being to those places where you might have been in denial about before. It's less than 10% of that 10% of that 10% that will actually do that. So then realize that your mediocrity is you're so far away from that, it's unbelievable. You're on the path to master, right? And if you haven't done that so far, then please take this as some inspiration that you can do it. You really can do it, and it does make a difference, and it will change your life, and it will be worth it. By now, if you've gone through everything, you'll know so much more about yourself, about your own personal identity, who you really are. You'll know what your top 5 values are, and you'll have a deeper understanding of yourself, and you'll have more clarity of vision, and you'll get a sense of where you're going in life. And that's a great thing that many don't have. Many will try and avoid things like that. And so don't, you know, people can be their worst enemy sometimes, you know, their own worst enemy. If you can conquer yourself, then there's nothing you cannot conquer, right? So that's my hope, maybe, for you, is that you just take action on this. You just take action on this stuff, because I'm taking action on it, so I'm getting benefits. I can sense and I can feel my own transformation already on many levels, clarifying my values. Even I've done stuff on values. I started doing stuff on values in 2004, but it's a little bit different to this. And still, what come out the last few days is different, you know. Where I actually get a deeper understanding of what's really important to me, or what really inspires me in life, you know. And your values do change. Your values do change as you move through life. They don't always stay the same as you would have found out in that exercise we did a couple of days ago, where from 0 to 10, what your values would have been, from 10 to 20, from 20 to 30, right up till, you know, your 90s, what your values, how your values change, what they would have been in each decade. So you know your values do change as you go through life. You know, one of the things that I do for this, that's helping me to grow, is that I don't actually like script anything I'm going to say. I don't even have bullet points or anything that I'm going to talk about. I literally go through a ritual. I say some mantras, some clearing statements, and I sit down and I just let it flow. And that's what I'm doing, because I will be. I'm in the process of being a master speaker, a master communicator. That's one of my goals. Part of my vision is to be that. To be an outstanding speaker, and I see it in my own martial arts, my life, and it's something that I'm fairly proficient at now, and it's something that I can go and teach a class, and I don't have to think what I'm going to teach in that class. Things just come, just like that, right? And I can stand out in front and have someone attack me, and I don't have to say to them, throw a punch or a kick or do a grab or use this weapon or that weapon. I can just say, attack me any way you like. And I'm totally confident that I can handle it, and I can, right? And so my desire is to have my speaking ability to be as on the same level as that martial art ability, to have my communication as at a high standard as my my movement of my body and my understanding of movement. And so that's why one of the reasons I'm doing this, to be able to sit here and speak live, put myself on the line the same way as I put myself on the line where I say to somebody, attack me, any way you can. So I sit here as well without any knowledge of what I'm going to say, without any forethought. I just sit down and say, okay, let's do it. And I just trust. I just trust in my unconscious resources that they'll come forth when I trust in them and I relax into it. I relax and I breathe and remember to breathe as we're talking right now. And as I say breathe, you'll just probably take a deeper breath as you remember to breathe, because maybe you weren't breathing fully. And that's an important thing that I learned. It's an important thing I learned in martial arts, the use of the breath. It's an important thing I learned in speaking and communicating, is the use of breath, to remember to breathe. It's an important thing as you remember to breathe right now, nice and deep. Yeah, so I don't know how each, of course we have a framework of we're reading from this book each time, but that's maybe 10 minutes, so there's another 20 minutes of me talking, and I don't know what I'm going to say, and I know it's live, and so I'm just letting it flow through. And I know if I do this every single day for 90 days, it's a little stretch for me. I get like a little bit of a flutter before I start because I don't, there's no script there, right? But it's putting myself out of my comfort zone. So that's when growth happens. You know, that's when we start to achieve our goals, when we put ourselves outside our comfort zones. And that's what many people don't understand. And a lot of people are trying to work within the framework, within the parameters of what they already know, and where their limits of comfort are. They're trying to reach their goals within that place. They're like in here, and they, well, my goals are right here, but I just want to stay in here and reach my goals from in here, right? And they don't want to learn. They don't want to go and stretch themselves. They just think, well, I know this stuff, so I'm just going to do it. And then if it doesn't work, it's not their fault. It's something outside there, right? And that's not the truth, right? The truth is our goal is here. We're inside here, and the only way to get that goal is to expand our comfort zone out and out and out until we actually engulf that goal within our comfort zone, and it just becomes part of us. And then we just keep expanding and 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 keep expanding, and that expansion never stops. The same way as the universe is constantly expanding, and the expansion of the universe never stops. Because, like you know, at this very moment in time, that you are infinite. You're an infinite being, and your purpose is infinite. So just realize that as we drink some water. I see my progress in martial arts growing up, and I see my progress in speaking, because each time I put myself out of my comfort zone, I do things that scare me. I do things that I'm uncomfortable with. And when I do that, that's when I grow, that's when I progress. And if you want to grow, you want to progress, you have to put yourself out of your comfort zone. And the exercises in this book, The Values Factor, that helps you to do that as well. To make sure, if you haven't got this book yet, you purchase this book. It's The Values Factor by John Demartini. You can get it on Amazon, or you can go to drdemartini.com and purchase it there. And just get going with it and start running with me on this, you know. Yeah, there was once a time when I remember when I was, I think it was the first time I really had to stand up in front of people and speak. and read something out. And I had written something that I was speaking about, and I stood up, and I could not take my eyes off the page of fear that I would lose my place, and I wouldn't be able to find it again, and there would be an awkward silence. And I would look back at the page, and I'd search everywhere, and I wouldn't be able to find where I was, so I just kept my eyes glued to that page as I read. And that was the limit of my public speaking, my communication at that stage. There was a time when I could not speak to more than one person at a time in a conversation. If there's two people there, my brain melted. I just couldn't speak to two of them at once. Just couldn't happen, right? One time my girlfriend thought I was really rude because I went out with her and a friend of hers, and I just directed the conversation toward my girlfriend, not because I didn't like the other girl, but because I just couldn't speak to more than one person at a time. That's how, I suppose, that's how close I was at the time. And it's only when I realized that if I really want to be a great teacher and achieve something great in life and be able to reach out to people around the world, I'm going to have to change that. There's things about myself I'm going to have to change. I'm going to have to grow. I'm going to have to become a different person to what I am and what I was. And in order to do that, I have to have courage. I have to put myself on the line. And I have to make mistakes, and I have to look stupid at times, and I have to fail, and I have to be rejected enough times until that stuff just doesn't matter anymore, you know. And when you have a big enough reason why and inspiring enough vision, then you can do that, you know. Then you can do that. So yeah, then it got to the stage where any possibility, any chance I had to be able to speak in front of people, I just said yes, yes. I'll do it. I went and did a Buddhist tasting that you put your name down for chores. And one of the chores was give a reading. And I could have easily said, I'll sweep the pathway, you know. And I said no, I'll do the reading. Even though as I was writing it down, my heart was actually starting to beat faster as I was writing down my name beside doing the reading. And when I actually had to give a reading to over 100 people, my heart was just pounding, you know. But you know that's if you want to grow and progress in life, you have to do that. You have to do the things where your heart starts pounding and your palms are sweaty, and sounds like an Eminem song, right? Yeah, and so now I feel I'm improving, and so you know, as I'm talking about myself, you know, I just look at your own life and what you'd like to improve on. And just realize what it's going to take to do that. You know, don't be lying to yourself. Don't be making excuses. Don't be in denial. You know, you got to be true to yourself. You have to look into those dark corners of your mind, those things you're afraid of, and you have to face them. And you have to realize you're going to have to step up, right? You have to step up. Okay, so let's carry on with our book, The Values Factor. We're on page 68. Did you complete the exercise? I had 2 exercises to complete yesterday. Yes, I completed them. They were great. Finalizing my top 5 values. Then going through the other exercise on page 66. What's wrong with your life? Did you do that exercise as well? I hope you did it. I did it as well. Even though when I did the exercise, I felt like I didn't need to do the exercise. If you know what I mean. I felt like, okay, I got this one. I understand this one. I've gone through this process before. I thought I'll do it anyway, pretending like I haven't. So I went through the exercise anyway, and I believe I got something else out of it. Yeah. Okay. So as I said, I sent an email out today saying I'm going to tell a controversial story. Some people might turn off when they hear the story. They might not like it. It might go so much against their beliefs or worldview or whatever. But anyway, let's read it out anyway, and I can definitely see it in my own life, how this has worked out. So without further ado, I hope you stay the course with me as we continue with this. So the value of challenge. This is Ryan's story. This is a story that from John Demartini of one of his clients. Let's go with it. Sometimes when we attempt to depart quite far from our own highest values, life throws us what looks like uninspiring challenges challenges that may initially appear as unqualified tragedies. When we look at these challenges differently, however, we can begin to find the deeper meaning in them. Once we see their benefits, these appear to be inspiring opportunities. Such was the case of one of my clients, a man I counseled a few years ago, whom I will call Ryan. Ryan was a high-achieving businessman in his late 30s, a mid-level executive in an important export firm in Southern California. He was involved with a beautiful woman who had achieved her own high-level professional and financial status as a divorce attorney. The two of them had just gotten married and were about to have their first child. Yet despite his happy facade, Ryan believed he was miserable. He had come to me because of what he considered illness, low energy, tightness and pain in his jaw, and frequent headaches. I could see right away that Ryan was a man in conflict with himself. One of his highest values was and authority figures upon whom he depended. He tried to live according to their highest values, and he desperately attempted to subordinate the risk values so that he could fulfill his very highest value of pleasing them. As I spoke with Ryan about his life, Ryan's frustrations emerged. Although Ryan insisted that he was happy in his marriage, I discovered that his wife played the dominant role at home while Ryan withdrew emotionally, becoming increasingly passive and refusing to speak up about what bothered him. It was clear that in this relationship, neither party was fully empowered in all areas of their life. Instead, Ryan's wife had all the power at home because that was where her highest values and his lowest values lay. At the same time, when work or finance-related decisions came up, empowered and his wife was disempowered. For example, his wife had chosen a career involving less responsibility, prestige, and fulfillment because she expected to devote more of her energy to caring for their home and for the children they someday hoped to have. If Ryan needed to stay late at work or make other decisions to support his career, his wife picked up the slack at home to enable Ryan to do this. That's because Ryan's highest value and his wife's lowest values were in the areas of career and finance. Ryan's disempowerment at home and in the relationship was creating its own counterbalance. Ryan withdrew and refused to participate in any dialogue, while his wife felt angered by Ryan's withdrawal. Ryan further declared that he had never really wanted to get married. His wife had been the one to push the relationship to that level. Since she desired both the financial security of a good provider and a husband who would enable her to quit one child, had decided that she had to have a baby before she turned 35, and she was desperate to create the perfect family she thought she wanted. Ryan seemed like the perfect person to help her achieve her goals. Ryan, on the other hand, had been relieved to find someone who would take over his life for him, since he claimed that he never really felt certain about who he was or what he was doing. As we talked, I found that Ryan had also never wanted to enter the business world. His job was the violin, which he practiced faithfully 2 hours every day. I don't see how I could ever make a living playing music, he told me despondently. And I can't disappoint my parents. They've struggled so hard to put me through school. They've done everything for me. If I became a penniless musician, it would kill them. So Ryan kept attempting to subordinate his values to those of his parents and his wife. And when his wife became pregnant, he insisted that he was happy about it and eager to become the father, husband, and family man that everyone also seemed to want him to be. Only his difficulties, his physical symptoms, were telling a different story, signaling how Ryan's true self was rebelling against the social idealisms of a good son, fatherhood, and fiscal responsibility that were dominating his life. Ryan, I asked him once, is this the life you envisioned for yourself? His face fell. Well, no, he said, almost in a whisper. I thought I'd spend my whole life playing music. I mean, I knew I couldn't do that. Not really, but... As the pregnancy continued, Ryan withdrew even further, and in response, his wife became even more demanding. She had a lot of New Age beliefs and had decided she wanted a natural childbirth at home, with Ryan as an active participant. As the pregnancy continued, she became even more rigid in what she chose to eat, how she exercised, and how she prepared for the birth. It was as though all her concerns about her relationship with Ryan and her approaching parenthood were being channeled into effort to control every aspect of the birth. Meanwhile, Ryan's parents believed firmly in the latest medical technology and were appalled at the prospect of their grandchild being born like a peasant in a mud hut, as his mother put it. They argued constantly Ryan about his wife, trying to force his wife to have the baby in a hospital. Now Ryan had a new conflict to deal with between his parents and his wife. Note that his own highest values were partly hidden from view. They were attempting to express themselves through symptoms, but Ryan still kept attempting to live according to the highest values of his wife and family members. He was simply trying to please everyone else. As a result, he was feeling numb. He was often physically absent, and he was struggling with an illness that continued to compound. In response, both Ryan's parents and his wife became ever more dominant and demanding. Note that everyone in this situation was facing challenges, in each case because they were following social idealisms and focusing on other people's values rather than shaping their lives by their own highest values. Abandoning, ignoring, or suppressing their own highest values produced tremendous frustration for every individual involved. And the further away each person got from their own highest values, the more intense their uninspiring challenges became. For example, social idealisms of advanced medicine, earning a good living, and obedient son. Rather than looking at their own lives and their own highest values, they wanted to project their adopted values onto Ryan and attempt to control him. As a son, a husband, and a father, the less able they were to control Ryan, the more anxious, frustrated, and unfulfilled everyone involved seemed to become. Likewise, Ryan's wife was prey to these notions that you have to have a baby by age 35. You need to marry a good provider, and you should have the perfect natural childbirth. Subordinating yourself or herself to these external values or social idealisms, she faced increasing challenges. A husband who didn't behave as she wanted him to, in-laws who continued to pressure her, and the prospect of a birth whose outcome she could influence but not control. Ryan himself, of course, felt completely beset by these uninspiring challenges. He felt guilty about displeasing his wife and parents, frustrated with his career, and terrified of becoming a father. He felt increasingly that his wife didn't care for him, but had just wanted someone to provide her with a child. And he believed that once the baby came, he would have even less time for his music. Then an event occurred that virtually everyone involved considered to be a tragedy. You see, tragedy from that perception, and apparently tragic events often turn out to have a balance of their own. The seemingly tragic event was that Ryan's baby was stillborn. Ryan, his wife, and his parents all appeared to be devastated. However, once we looked a little deeper, the truth turned out to be far more complex, and so did the responses of everyone involved in it. At the time, I recognized that many people would view this event as painful beyond words. But I also saw it as the challenge sent to call every person in this situation back to his or her true self. This apparently agonizing void, it seemed to me, could become the inspiring opportunity for everyone involved to discover their truer and higher values. Accordingly, when Ryan came to see me after his baby's death, I asked him what possible benefits he might derive from this apparent challenge. At first, the question made him so angry that he almost left our session. But although he couldn't respond that day, he promised to think about the question and try to answer it later on. Over time, not only Ryan, but everyone in the situation began to see what this challenge had to teach them. Ryan's wife realized that she could not completely control her birth, and she had to ask herself why she had wanted this child so much and what she had been willing to do to ensure that she gave birth on schedule. She had to face her true feelings about Ryan and to appreciate that he was not really the fancy man she initially envisioned. She had to look at her true highest values, what really mattered to her, and to focus on those rather than trying to build a kind of socially ideal picture book marriage, with Ryan cast in the role of the perfect husband. Eventually, she divorced Ryan, left her law practice, became a full-time yoga instructor, and ended up having 2 children later in life, at ages 38 and 41. She chose to have these children in a more balanced partnership with the owner of a large construction company who had come to do some estimates on her yoga studio. The stillborn birth of her child had pushed her to discover her true highest values and create a life more aligned with them. She left behind the social idealisms of traditional marriage, security, and baby on schedule, and created an entirely new and unexpected life that inspired and fulfilled her. True highest values as he worked with me. He began to realize that he could indeed find a way to make a living as a musician. He began producing and selling tapes, charging for music lessons, and organizing his life around time for practice and study. He became a respected performer in chamber groups and small ensembles, and eventually he even performed at Carnegie Hall. After the divorce, he and his wife actually became friends, in part because of the apparent tragic events that they'd been through together. Just as King, Einstein, and Keller were inspired to greater growth and achievement, Ryan and his wife came to more maturely embrace each other as they encountered the void of their child's stillbirth. This is why I do not consider these events tragic. Out of these voids, greater values grow. To true sense, we would be wise to embrace both the seemingly painful challenges and the seemingly joyous support. Both are part of life, and true wisdom lies in finding fulfillment and inspiration in both. This was an insight that Ryan and his wife were able to achieve. They found new common ground in their quest for discovering their true highest values and shaping their lives accordingly. Because Ryan's parents were humbled in their attempt to control their son, I thought they too might be able to give up their social idealisms and reclaim their true highest values. Instead, they chose to ignore the potential lesson and insisted on continuing as they had before. Since they persisted in trying to control Ryan, he chose to spend less time with them and to share fewer aspects of his life with them. Ryan's mother and father each developed increasingly challenging illnesses as they aged, which I viewed as the result of their body's efforts to call them back to their highest values and their truest and most open-hearted selves. For more on this view of illness and wellness, see Chapter 10. How Ryan's parents will respond to their latest challenges remains to be seen. Ryan, however, stands out in my mind as a man who eventually saw the value of his challenge. Like King, Einstein, and Keller, he chose growth and opportunity rather than defeat. His growth was not easy and his challenges were great, yet the value he found in those experiences was enormous. He benefited, and so did his new wife, his ex-wife, his new circle of friends, his music colleagues, his students, and all who listened to him. Ryan now fulfills himself through fulfilling others, honoring his highest values and participating fully in his own life as a musician. I expect that he will go on to encounter other obstacles and challenging voids, and that he will create new values and inspiring opportunities as he does so. In Ryan's life, his challenging voids created enormous value, as they can do ultimately in every life. I created exercise 2 to give you the opportunity to think about how the challenges in your life have offered you too the chances to create value and inspiring opportunities. So there is the story, but here is the exercise. The exercise I'll read quickly for tonight or tomorrow to do. The value of difficulty. Not to be challenging voids or wrongs with your life, as we did in the last exercise. It's time to discover the benefits you have derived from those difficult challenges. This exercise can help you explore the value of difficult challenges and begin to awaken within you the power of the values factor. Instructions. Review the top 10 list of perceived wrongs or perceived sources of challenging difficulty, void, or pain that you catalogued in exercise 1 on page 66. Remember? For each wrong, list at least 5 associated benefits. For example, if one of your wrongs is being criticized by my parents, then the benefits might include initiated deep self-reflection and evaluation to determine what was true. Created more independence, became closer to my friends, forced to consider my parents' values and to communicate my values to them in terms of their own values, resulting in improved communication. drove me to clean my room and house when I didn't always feel like it, made me look for what role I might have played in initiating their response, and so on. Okay, and then on the next page is the area to complete the exercises. If you haven't got the book yet, you need the book to do that. Okay. So that was Ryan's story. You know, there's so many elements in there to illustrate the teaching of the value of challenge, right, and the values factor. So much to learn in there. It goes so contrary to the mainstream sort of worldview belief system, you know, where something tragic happens and we say it's tragic and that's it, you've got to get over it or whatever. Where we can actually look at it scientifically and see, and look at it from the laws of the universe and see how everything has a blessing in it. In everything there is an equal benefit or opportunity, as Napoleon Hill used to say, you know. And then John Demartini is saying this maybe at a more evolved level, I believe. He says things that Napoleon Hill would have said at another level, maybe at a level that is more practical and tangible, and that we can actually work with and get a deeper understanding of it, I believe, you know. And I find it interesting just reading that. Look, connecting our life purpose with our highest values, where Dr. John Demartini puts so much emphasis on finding out what those values are, bringing yourself back. You know, our challenges force us back to our true selves and our highest values. And you know, our purpose in life can be lived every day. It's not something that we one day hope to aspire to, but if we're living our highest values every day, then we're living our inspired purpose and mission in life every day. And you know, that's a powerful thing, right? To have that, to know every day that you're living your inspired purpose and mission on the planet, and you know who you are, you know your identity, you know what's important to you. Wow, you know, what a blessing that is. And it's really our natural state, you know, it's really our natural state to understand that. And as we evolve as beings, we get to understand more of ourselves, you know. And if you look out there around you in the world, there's so much misunderstanding about who we are, what we're here for, and misunderstanding of events, of challenges. Like how many people really understand that? You know, when tragedy seems to strike and things like that, how many people really can see the balance of it? And that's what this does. That's what the values factor does. That's what this philosophy that Dr. John Demartini has articulated so well in his teachings. That's what he brings forth, you know. And it's a powerful thing. And I'm learning more of it every day myself. And as you go through this with me, as you keep an open mind, as you know you've gone this far and you will do, keep an open mind, keep going with it. And even if something doesn't sit right with you at first, you know, just try it on. You know, you have to be able to let go of the old to take on the new. You know, if you want to move to the next level in your life, there's something you have to be willing to leave behind. You have to let something go to move that, like a seemingly part of yourself, part of your old self. You have to let that go to move that next level. You can't carry all the baggage from your old past, your old self with you. You know, to move that next level, you just got to let it go. There's great power in letting go. Great power in surrender. Surrendering our belief systems, surrendering our worldview for a higher order. Make sense? Great, great. I'm all out of water. So I think we'll wrap things up here. We really appreciate you spending this time with me right now. Make sure you tune in to every hangout we do this next 79 days now. And be sure to complete the exercise for tomorrow. There's so much more great stuff coming up to look forward to. And we're just really getting started. We're really getting started, but we've already gone through so much. We've already learned so much about ourselves and our transformation is truly underway. So if you haven't joined my team yet, you want regular updates, you want to be part of my system, part of my team, you can join my team. Just a bunch of people who are creating financial freedom, mastering their lives, and that's what my team do. We have a phenomenal system in place to do that. So you can click on the link below to join my team and do that. Or just go to my channel, Be a Potential, and watch all the videos. If this is the first Hangout you've seen, make sure you go back to Hangout 1 and start there and go through them all. It's only going to take you 30 minutes a day. Really, what else would you be doing? This is important stuff, right? It's important stuff. This is your life, my friend, your life. Okay, thanks very much, and see you again tomorrow. This is Matthew Armstrong, signing out.